Welcome to the RV Living Show. I'm Luann Street, and I am so excited that you were joining me tonight for this show. I am going to be talking about the things that I learned while I was a full timer. So, for 5 years, my husband and I were on the road full time in our RV. He did pass away last year, so now I'm RVing solo. But I do want to talk about the things that I've learned while I was a full timer and be able to speak into some of the things that you might be thinking about as you transition to a full time RV life. Stay tuned. Hello, friend. Thanks so much for showing up for me tonight and getting on this show with me so that we can talk all about, learning about my experience of being a full-time RVer. The full-time RV life is an exciting endeavor. A lot of people want to do it. A lot of people wait their whole lives and try to retire into an RV. And I just wanted to talk tonight about some of the things that I learned from my full time RV experience. And if you're a full timer, when I get into the comments in a little while, I'd love for you to share some of the things that you think you learned from your full time RV life so that we can inspire others who want to create that life for themselves. So, what I've learned from being a full timer. I always say that there are no mistakes, only lessons, right? And that, in the last show I did, looking back, what I wish I had known before I even started RVing, right? Not even just full timing, but just RVing itself, buying that RV, camping nights, vacations, and weekends, just getting to that whole RV lifestyle vibe, never even thinking about that full timing might be something in my future. So, this episode is dedicated to the things that I learned as a full timer. So, let's get started. So, Ryan and I talked about this a lot when we were full time because we were just felt so blessed that we were able to ditch our sticks and bricks life before we were even retired. I actually took my job on the road with me remotely, and so we were able to escape the the mundane going to work, coming home like a sheep every day kind of thing that was going on because we had that bug really bad. We wanted to change our lives and do something now rather than later. Now, hindsight, of course, I'm looking back and I am so grateful that we did that before we were retired because if we had waited, I would not have the full time experiences with my husband and those full time memories since he passed away last year. But looking back, one of the things that I really was thinking that I never really understood that I didn't know my neighborhood was going to get so big because now your home can go anywhere you want to, right? If you make that full-time transition and you start on that journey of that your home is your RV. And let's just clarify for a second. Your home can be your RV for any period of time. Um, a lot of times full timers think that, you have to completely ditch your sticks and bricks and be exclusively on the road with no home to go back to. And that is not true. You can be a full timer for any extended period of time where you're using your house as your home and that you have the things with you that you need while you're traveling in a way that it's not just vacation mode. So that's what we're talking about. So, talking about my neighborhood, right? My house could move from place to place, right? So everywhere I went, that was my neighborhood. My neighbors, I had new neighbors. I got to meet interesting people and have cocktail hour around the campfire, see new places all the time. If you're not full time at this point and you're thinking about it, if you take a walk around your neighborhood right now, you are walking out there and you see the same thing over and over again. Well, every day when I got outside, I got to walk in a new neighborhood. It was beautiful, inspiring. I could do see different things all the time. So I didn't know that that was going to happen. So that is something that I learned from being a full timer, is that my neighborhood would get really big. Okay. So the next thing that I learned is, we all have preconceptions of what things are going to be like. And I was no different, as I was trying to transition to full time, as I was thinking about what RV life was going to be like on the road. I was thinking that we would just go from one place to the next. You and that's something I think a lot of full timers get when they transition. They're like, oh, we can go anywhere. This is so exciting. We can go here and we can go here and we can go here. Well, I can tell you for a fact, if you talk to almost any full timer now, they will tell you that spending 2 to 3 weeks in a destination is such a relief, because the traveling all the time is exhausting. While traveling is completely the benefit of full timing, right? But you don't have to do it all in the next month. I think when you are a full timer, you got to drop that vacation mentality. You don't have to do it all. And guess what? And I'm talking to myself because I had to learn this lesson. You can come back. It doesn't have to be a one and done. If you go to this great place, you can actually travel back there as a full timer. It's not something that you just have to experience because this is your one shot. Now, there are a couple places that I think may be my one shot when I do go there. And for me, that might be Alaska and Newfoundland, right? If I go all the way up through Canada and I hit the island of Newfoundland up there, then I probably will never go back. That won't be a repeat visit. Alaska too. I think that'll be a one and done. But you know what? Mackinac Island, which I absolutely adore, I will go back there. Jekyll Island in Georgia, I'm going back there. So because you're going to see it in different seasons, you can do different things there. While you're there, you can figure out things that you want to do when you come back. So, just knowing that you can stay a little bit longer and that you're not going to travel every single day, even though that may sound exciting in the beginning, that is something that I learned from being a full timer, is that I don't have to do that. I can change my mindset, I can readjust, and I can have a little bit more of a peaceful time and experience more depth of the place that I'm in. Get to know that little coffee shop. I know when we were in Mackinac Island, every day, Brian was an avid coffee drinker. Avid. I mean, lattes, and Mackinac Island does not have, well, actually, we stayed in the UP. So they didn't have a Starbucks, right? So there was this local little coffee shop, and Starbucks was his favorite. So we would go there to get a latte every day. And we got to know the people behind the counter. And so we spent three weeks, maybe a month there, I think. And so they knew what we wanted when we walked in. It's just kind of nice that because you're full timing and you are going and things are different all the time, that getting more familiar with one place for just a little bit of time is actually kind of comforting. So I just wanted to let you know that. Okay, so number 3, I didn't know that I would like fill in the blank. Okay, so we're going to talk about all the things that I didn't know that I'd like. Okay, so in my sticks and bricks life, I was limited to, the same, like I said, the same walk around the neighborhood, the same parks nearby, the same river nearby if I liked kayaking, which, by the way, I didn't know that I liked kayaking. I had no idea. And that was something that when we decided to go full time, we bought an inflatable kayak to go with us, because this opens up a whole new world, right? So you can do the thing that you like to do wherever you go. So in this case, kayaking, riding your bike, learning history. This was something. So Brian and I talked a lot about what we learned as we were full timers, and did a lot of, internal searching about how great, and just reflecting on how blessed we were. And, he didn't realize that he would learn to love history. He always thought history was boring in school. And if I wanted to go to a museum or whatever, he liked to look at the stuff, but he didn't dive into the history part of it. That wasn't his thing. And there's a lot of people out there like that. And then they're probably married to people like me who want to read all the signs and understand what the concept is or the content is, or the why this thing was even there in the first place. So, you're going to discover things when you're a full-timer, things that you didn't know about yourself. I had no idea I would love kayaking so much. No idea. In fact, I was afraid. I was afraid that I was going to turn the kayak over, that I was going to dump over. I had no experience. I didn't want to do it because I was afraid. And when we finally did it, I was like, this is the best thing ever. So I just want to encourage you that as a full-timer, you can experience things for the first time and the 10th time. And it can always be in a different place. And that it opens up your whole world to you, right? So that gives you the ability to try new things and test out just what you're made of, right? Hiking that trail up, way high that other people don't want to do, or is too hard, or you think it's too hard, maybe challenge yourself to go do that hike while you're there, because it could be a bucket list thing for you. You're at this place, all the hikes in the national parks, you get to see some of the best things if you just get out of your comfort zone a little bit and go on and do things that might be a little bit hard. And then you're actually super proud of yourself at the end. So, all right. So all this talk about full timing leads me into telling you that I am going to be doing the Launch Your Full-Time RV Workshop. RV Life Workshop, I should say. I picked this really long name, but I wanted you guys to know what it meant. Because really, when you start to think about creating that life for yourself, you have so many questions. And sometimes you're not even sure if it's really right for you. So I created this workshop, and here's the link, designyourrvlife.com/launch. And you can register for this workshop that I'm doing in August. And we're going to be diving into all those things that you may have questions about full timing, whether it's right for you, whether it's the right time for you, maybe give you some ideas on how to overcome some of the obstacles that maybe you're trying to transition and you just can't figure out how to overcome this one thing that might keep you from getting on the road. So I'd love it if you would register and join me at designyourrvlife.com/launch. We'll be in Zoom together. We'll have 30 minutes of Q&A at the end of the 90-minute workshop. And I've got a lot of things planned for that workshop. So I hope you'll join me. All right. So next week, we are going to dive into how do you get your RV mail? How do you get your mail when you're on the road? That is the number one question that I get asked. When I tell somebody that I'm a full-timer, they're like, what? How do you get your mail? Like, how is that even possible? They're stymied, right? So next week, I'm going to dive into and do a whole guide on getting your RV mail. So I hope that you'll join me next week on the RV Living Show, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All right. So let's dive into the comments, see who's here with me live. And do we have any full-timers in the house that can tell me what they learned from being a full-timer? All right. Okay. Well, we don't have anybody interested in getting on screen, not getting on screen, but getting their comments on screen. So I'm going to wrap this up. I just want to remind you that if you're interested in full-timing at all, this workshop is for you, and go ahead and register. And I will see you next week on the RV Living Show. Have a great week. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me for the RV Living Show. I hope this episode helps you in creating an RV life that you love. Until next time, I encourage you to stop wondering and start wandering.